First question, should you stay with someone if they're not working on themselves? Okay. Should you stay with someone if they're not working on themselves? So this question really reflects a concern that I think a lot of people have. And usually it revolves around a fear of being with someone that, for whatever reason, you feel like is not evolving. I kind of want to rewind this a little bit. The way that I want to talk about this is, number one, there's an assumption about the process of self-actualization, right? So we want to talk about what are we assuming about self-actualization, number one. Number two, how are we making discerning choices about, is this a person that can grow with me, right? Is this a person, not necessarily just grow, but grow in the same directions as I am, okay? Who is self-reflective and who is going to meet me on the levels that I prioritize in relationship. Okay, so let's just stick with those. There's a lot, but let's just stick with those. Number one, reconceptualizing this idea of self-actualization. A lot of us tend to think of self-actualization as like this hierarchy. And, Maslow's hierarchy of needs certainly contributes to that concept. And there's a lot of good information there. Certainly, if we are not able to attend to the body's integrity and find safety and be in relationship to people with whom the body is safe and then emotionally safe, right? Then, of course, we're not going to get very far because our vehicle won't be able to function properly. Our body, our vehicle won't be able to function properly. So there's something to be said for that. But if we are taking another step back, right? And we are to question this idea of growing, evolving, self-actualizing as being in a hierarchical system or some kind of linear upward movement. What if we were to question that and we were to decide that maybe it's not linear? And if we were to take another step back and look at it through the eyes of source or spirit or the large collective unconsciousness, the consciousness that to which we are all connected in a grand way. If we are expressions, all these individual expressions of the same consciousness, then every experience that we are having is a facet of that source learning about itself. So you might look at a partner and say, you have so much potential, but you're not growing with me, and that must mean you're not growing, and this is impossible, right? If you just did this or that, if you just said, thought, acted this and that way, then you would be growing, then you would be on the same path as me, and you would be as aware and as self-actualized, and you would be doing it right. Your potential would finally be realized and you would start fulfilling your potential. So sometimes there's an underlying sort of narrative where, well, I'm more enlightened than you, and if you don't start getting enlightened, then you're going to drag me down. I would maybe have you notice that perspective is not very enlightened. It's not very self-actualized, is it? Because in the eyes of source, all experiences are worthy of investigation, and all experiences are informing source's understanding of itself. All of them. Even the experience where someone has a more concrete way of viewing things and responding to things. Even the experience of having a bit of knowledge and choosing not to act on it because you feel emotionally resistant. That is as valuable in the eyes of spirit as the experience of learning new information and choosing to act on it. Now, does one affect a change in the pattern of energy response? Sure. Knowing something, refusing to act on it or follow through creates a constricted kind of energy. Knowing something, choosing to act on it and follow through creates a more open, expansive kind of energy. Sure. And guess what? Both are experiences that are informing source of itself in the way that we as spiritual beings manifest a physical experience. It's not a question of I'm more aware, self-actualized, and growing better than you. It is, oh, your curriculum, your learning curriculum and lesson here may actually now start to digress from mine. And so this is where I do think, however, there is such thing as potential, okay? But potential is not the same thing as our purpose. Okay. Because we are all expressions of source, because we are all spiritual beings having a physical experience, we all have potential, limitless potential, right? Of course. Of course. And when you love someone, even if they're driving you crazy, it's because in many ways you see that divine spark in them. You are someone who has aligned enough with them that you see the divine spark in them. And of course it's there. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. That's not the issue. But what is their purpose? I like to explain this with a metaphor usually. You might imagine that there are two seeds, and we bury the seeds, we nurture the seeds, we water them, we give them sunlight. And for whatever reason, one seed blossoms and it grows up and it flowers, right? We might say, oh, that seed has fulfilled its potential. But the other seed doesn't. We don't really know why. For whatever reason, it didn't bud in the same way. But now maybe a squirrel or a chipmunk comes along and they dig up the seed, but then a bird swoops down and grabs the seed and then feeds it to its chicks, right? And now the chicks grow up and they poop all around and they spread, they fertilize the ecosystem. And we might say that maybe that seed didn't fulfill its potential, but it certainly fulfilled a purpose. And that purpose continued to contribute to the larger collective ecosystem. It contributed to the larger collective experience. Sometimes our partners are here because it is their purpose to contribute to an ecosystem in which someone whose purpose it is to fulfill their potential can be galvanized into it. Because we often, there's that expression, if it won't challenge you, it won't change you. And oftentimes people who come into my sphere, the professional women who come to me and work with me, come to me because they have butted up against a partner whose purpose may be in large part to teach them the lesson that they need to access their potential, because they are here to evolve in that way. They are here to inform source of itself in that way, right? They are experiencing a growing desire for more. Their energetic lesson is about expansiveness. And so in butting up against the constricted, they learn more about how can I be more expansive? And oftentimes it means that the relationship has brought up for them, in their sense of fear of abandonment or rejection or not getting it right or whatever the story is, the attachment story is, they are now made aware of all of these thoughts and feelings and assumptions and deeper meanings that their inner child has assigned to their experience bubbling up. And this is a ripe opportunity, right? Because now they can recognize, oh, here's all the dirt and dust in those corners that is crowding out my inner space and not allowing the flow of love to come in, the massive energetic flow that I am requesting when I'm asking for a spiritually sound relationship, a soulfully connected relationship, right? Now I see all these internal stories and narratives that I've got going on, operating on automation behind the scenes. And now I have an opportunity to recognize them and clear all those constrictions out, that I can welcome in the love that I seek. And maybe it looks like a partner right now, or maybe it looks like self-love. When we ask the question, should you stay with someone that's not working on themselves? First, we have laid the groundwork for reframing what we mean by working. Now, the second part is the discernment piece. So let's assume, okay, it's not about them working on themselves. It is about me recognizing that my growth is going in a certain direction, right? My growth is moving in a certain way. It looks a certain way. And is my partner interested in evolving in a similar way? And not that they are not evolving, because they are still evolving. Even if they're not want to grow or evolve in the way that you are growing and evolving, they still are growing. Even if they're not working on themselves, they are still, even in their obstinance, informing spirit. So it's still happening. It just may not be happening according to your curriculum. I like to use a different metaphor for this. So I would have you imagine it's not about better or worse, more advanced, less advanced, actualized, not actualized. It is more about you are a curator. You are a curator for an art gallery, and you have a theme, and your theme calls for a certain type of submission. art submission. And let's say you send out a call and 100 artists send you their paintings and you can only accept 15 or 20. You look at all of these paintings and you decide these 15 or 20 go with my theme. Now, does that mean that the other 80 paintings weren't good? Does that mean that the other 80 paintings wouldn't have fit just as well with somebody else's theme? No. In fact, maybe the craft, maybe the quality, maybe even the materials that these other paintings used were of a higher quality, but they didn't go with the theme. That's all. And sometimes when we say, well, they're not working on themselves, it's as if we're saying, that painting doesn't go with my theme, but it's not trying to go with my theme. So shouldn't it be trying harder? And it's like saying, I'm mad at you, Apple, for not being an orange. Try to be an orange, okay? This is where we have to kind of let go of some of that. And then we have to further define for ourselves, is this actually what I need in relationship? Because sometimes we have a tendency to think I need my partner to be everything and all things, right? But that's why we become active participants of a community, and we have extended friendships and networks that you get some of those needs met outside of that intimate relationship. And the intimate relationship, primary relationship, becomes the provider of the needs that you designate as intimate. For example, my partner and I have lovely conversations and we talk about ideas and things like that, but I don't have the lofty intellectual, up in the clouds kind of philosophical and theoretical discussions about relationships and attachment and the neuroscience of it and like my partner, that's not his bag and he's not like interested in having those conversations, and I don't need to have them with him. I've got plenty of friends and mentors and clients and students with whom I get to have those conversations. Being up here and it is fun for me in my professional space. In my intimate relationships, my energy comes all down here. It's in my heart and it's in my body. And with my partner, we eat these delicious meals together. We go on these fabulous vacations and we explore the varieties of life. We laugh, we play, we joke, we tussle, we have sex, we have affectionate play. And we do have lovely discussions, but they're not this like heady kind of energy that I like to play with in professional realms. And I'm not all that interested in hearing about all the details and nuances of his professional realms as a chef, although I do enjoy the products. I do enjoy the products of his endeavors. And I would argue he enjoys the products of my endeavors, which is I have learned how to turn all that off and just be my most present self without needing to intellectualize everything, right? And the products of my work is learning how to do that. And I'm explaining that you can start to understand the discernment. Do I need my partner to be in all this evolving, heady, theoretical, head-raising consciousness headspace? Or do I just need them to be fully present? And how do I experience full presence, right? So I think those are the two things that I would have really look at when thinking about this decision, right? Number one, how am I thinking about working on self? In other words, how am I conceptualizing this process of self-actualization and growing self-awareness? And is it hierarchical? And is the way I'm thinking about it actually like I'm doing better than you, I'm getting the A grade and you're not, right? Is that actually the way it's expressing itself? And if so, dig deeper. And number two, what do I really need in relationship? And am I expecting things from this relationship that actually could be met in other ways and are maybe better met in other ways, right? So those are two things I might have you look at. Also, remember to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. I put out videos once a week and I wouldn't want you to miss out.